Job 15. Eliphaz, he reproves Job for impiety. Then answered Eliphaz the Temanite and said, should a wise man utter vain knowledge and fill his belly with the east wind? Should he reason with unprofitable talk, or with speeches wherewith he can do no good? Yea, thou castest off fear, and restrainest prayer before God. For thy mouth uttereth thine iniquity, and thou choosest the tongue of the crafty. Thine own mouth condemneth thee, and not I. Yea, thine own lips testify against thee. Art thou the first man that was born, or wast thou made before the hills? Hast thou heard the secret of God, and doest thou restrain wisdom to thyself? What knowest thou that we know not? What understandest thou which is not in us? With us are both the grey-headed and very aged man, much elder than thy father. Are the consolations of God small with thee? Is there any secret thing with thee? Why doeth thine heart carry thee away? And what do thy eyes wink at? That thou turnest thy spirit against God, and lettest such words go out of thy mouth. What is man that he should be clean, and he which is born of a woman that he should be righteous? Behold, he putteth no trust in his saints, yea, the heavens are not clean in his sight. How much more abominable and filthy is man, which drinketh iniquity like water. I will shew thee, hear me, and that which I have seen I will declare, which wise men have told from their fathers and have not hid it, unto whom alone the earth was given, and no stranger passed among them. The wicked man travelleth with pain all his hands, and the number of years is hidden to the oppressor. A dreadful sound is in his ears, his prosperity, the destroyer shall come upon him. He believeth not that he shall return out of darkness, and he is waited for of the sword. He wandereth abroad for bread, saying, where is it? He knoweth that the day of darkness is ready at his hand. Trouble and anguish shall make him afraid. They shall prevail against him as a king ready to the battle. For he stretcheth out his hand against God, and strengtheneth himself against the Almighty. He runneth upon him, even on his neck, upon the thick bosses of his bucklers, because he covereth his face with his fatness, and maketh collops of fat on his flanks. And he dwelleth in desolate cities, and in houses which no man inhabiteth, which are ready to become hips. He shall not be rich, neither shall his substance continue, neither shall he prolong the perfection thereof upon the earth. He shall not depart of the darkness, the flame shall dry up his branches, and by the breath of his mouth shall he go away. Let not him that is deceived trust in vanity, for vanity shall be his recompense. It shall be accomplished before his time, and his branch shall not be green. He shall shake off his unripe grape as a vine, and shall cast off his flower as the olive. For the congregation of hypocrites shall be desolate, and fire shall consume the tabernacles of bribery. They conceive mischief and bring forth vanity, and their belly prepareth deceit. Here is the explanation for chapter 15. Second cycle of speeches. As in the previous cycle, in this one, we listened to a conversation between Eliphaz, chapter 15 verses 1 to 35, and Job 16:1 and 17:16, Bildad 18:1 to 21, and Job 19:1 to 29, and Zophar 20 to 129, and Job 21 to 134. His friends continue to press on him their peculiar theology, and Job continues to express his pain and wish for vindication. Eliphaz, learning and not learning. Eliphaz was first indignant, 15:1 to 6, then a borrower, verses 7 to 10, and a little later an echo of himself, verses 14 to 16, and finally he sought again to assert that the wicked always suffer, verses 17 to 35. To begin with, he suggested that Job should be silent rather than increase his guilt by dishonest speech. He even asserted that Job was hindering pity by his words, verse 4. He accused Job of speaking from the perspective of his sinfulness and thus was expressing his lack of integrity. Bildad had used the wisdom of the forefathers, chapter 8 to 8-9. The consolations of God, verses 11, might refer to the counsel of himself and the others. Eliphaz also implied that Job's show of emotions was misleading and alarming. Verse 12. Eliphaz decided to return to his revelation, verses 14 to 16. He reiterated the point that human beings are sinful. Verse 14. Verse 16 has been interpreted and translated to mean either that all human beings are abominable, vile and detestable, and alike filthy or corrupt, or that Job himself was a particularly despicable example of human sinfulness. Verse 20 refers to the idea that the wicked or ruthless suffer according to the years appointed for them. This happens because they raise a rebellious hand against God. Verse 25. The wicked are described as having fat faces, a symbol of prosperity. They appear to be thriving, but it ultimately proves futile.